It's that time of year again. Time for comfort Christmas movies. It's a genre that can be quite hit or miss, with extreme highs and lows, and this one's personal to me, and I'll explain why as I give my full spoiler-free review of the new holiday release, The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. Each December, the small town of Emmanuel highly anticipates the local church Christmas pageant. This year is special, not just because it's the 75th anniversary, but also because something unexpected is about to take place. After some unforeseen circumstances, Grace volunteers to direct the high-profile event, to the chagrin of many of the more traditional ladies within the church. If that wasn't enough pressure, the pageant is also in jeopardy of being hijacked by the worst kids in the world, the Herdmans. Now, Grace must navigate between the values of the traditional community and the chaos brought on by the problematic siblings. I mentioned at the beginning that The Best Christmas Pageant Ever is very personal to me. I have read the book countless times for me and for my children. I grew up watching the made-for-TV movie version starring Hot Lips Houlihan, Loretta Swit, who is best known for the TV series MASH. It has been a Christmas staple for me and my whole family. In fact, several years ago, right before COVID, I actually pursued purchasing the filming rights to the book through the film studio I worked for. I spoke multiple times to the author's daughter, only to discover the film was in production at a studio I did not respect and was to be helmed by a director who, in my opinion, has a very poor record. I was heartbroken, but I became cautiously optimistic when a couple years later, it was announced that Dallas Jenkins, the creator of The Chosen, had obtained the rights and instead he and his team were in production making this film. It was bittersweet for me. On one hand, I was saddened that someone else had the rights to the film, but I was pleased to know that it was someone that felt so passionate about the original source material. So it goes without saying, I went into this film hopeful, but apprehensive. So here we go. From the first frame, The Best Christmas Pageant Ever establishes a quirky, fast-paced tempo. Just like the book, it quickly informs us how awful the Herdmans are and how their disruptive behavior negatively impacts the quaint community. We understand the history of this town, these characters, and the tone of the story, all before the title of the movie appears on screen. From there, the plot has a moment to breathe, guided by a voiceover that both fills in the gaps and maintains the literary tone, resembling other stories of yesteryear such as Stand By Me, the TV series The Wonder Years, or last year's underrated Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Similar to each of these examples, one of the absolute strengths of this film is its time period. Though it's somewhat ambiguous, it feels like the late 70s, early 80s with the wardrobe, cars, general atmosphere, and the tactile elements such as landline phones and old school library card catalogs that admittedly gave me some research paper PTSD. The entire world feels authentic, whether it's the stuffy old-fashioned church or the real snow outside, since Jenkins and his team committed to filming this in Canada in the winter. You feel like you're there, experiencing firsthand along with these characters. And the characters are brought to life first by criminally underappreciated actress Judy Greer, who, rather than being the other girl in The Wedding Planner, or the other girl in 13 Going on 30, or the other girl in 27 Dresses and so on, she gets to showcase her full range as the lead, Grace, a strong mom that also has insecurities, but essentially leads with compassion. And even though she is the lead, the stars of the film are, of course, the kids, ranging from Grace's son and daughter to the other good church children, and eventually the mischievous Herdmans, specifically their leader, Imogene. Their antics drive the story, and even though their behavior is objectively cruel and inappropriate, once the dust settles, their performances allow us to peek under their tough facade to see the hurt and innocence beneath the surface. Nothing depicts this better than a scene where the Herdmans hear, for the first time, the nativity story. The story of the birth of Jesus that everyone, especially those of us that go to church, have heard a million times. Their brutally honest reactions to the manger, the inn, and especially King Herod reshapes the familiar story and allows us, as the audience, to kind of hear the story through a fresh pair of ears, almost as if it's our first time hearing about baby Jesus as well. This is where the meat of the story takes place. How will these church-going Christians respond to these hoodlums? Well, it is at times hilarious, at other times sweet, and even at other times emotionally overwhelming. And for someone like me who is emotionally dead inside, this movie contains a climactic moment that even had me holding back the tears. But to find out why, you'll have to watch the movie yourself. For my overall rating, I went into this movie hoping it would match the beautiful story of the book, and I am happy to report it exceeded all my expectations. So I will give The Best Christmas Pageant Ever a hefty 4.5 stars out of 5, and assure you that this will become an annual viewing for me and my family each Christmas. Now, they did make a couple changes from the book, but in the context of telling a story in a film, I totally understand why, and I approve. I will also say, for those that are super sensitive viewers, remember, the Hermans are bad kids, so they take the Lord's name in vain a couple times, like in the book. I was wondering how they were going to handle that, and they smoke cigars, along with some other mild mischievous deeds. Even with those elements, I think this is an absolutely wonderful film for the whole family, but I wanted sensitive viewers to know that content is present in the film. If you are a Christian, or if you are not, note this movie places Christians on the hot seat and asks the characters, and by proxy, us Christians, do we remember what Christmas is all about? And I think it does so beautifully. What do you think of The Best Christmas Pageant Ever? Please let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please help me grow the channel by liking this video, subscribing to this channel, and ringing the notification bell so you never miss any of my future content. You can also check out some of my other reviews by clicking on one of these boxes.